Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are here live at DigiMarcon and Texpo. We are doing our podcast, and I have a special guest, Keith Byatt, here joining us. Now, just to be clear, it's Byatt, like you're going to buy something at the store, but we're not really talking sales today. We're talking a few other things. And he is the Territory Accounts Manager, not to be confused with Terrier Account Manager, another pun we'll get into in a minute here, at Ruckus. And I was just talking with them a little bit about what they do and their business, and then we'll get into a little bit about Keith himself and his background. So to start with, can you just give us a brief introduction about your company and what you do there?
Glad to. Thanks for having me here. Thanks for inviting me onto the podcast. So Ruckus is a cloud-driven, purpose-built solution when it comes to data networking. So as a company, kind of the grocery and recipe, we make networking access points and networking switches. So when it comes to connectivity or application delivery, we make the hardware equipment and then the software for the director or the IT department to be able to run their business. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy to share what type of businesses we get into. But from a grocery list standpoint, we are a networking manufacturer.
And we were talking a little before, but you've got sort of this interesting interplay between like the government side of it, and then so you're working, like everything from students and education, and then you've got like a government side, like they need ultra high end security and high end Wi-Fi, and then also the what would you call it, like the customer service side, which is like hotels and things like that. Sure. So can you go into a little bit about that, the different branches and things that are offered?
Yeah. So I'll talk a little bit, some of the verticals we do really well, and then what separates us or the why. So we do really well in the education space. Yeah. So think K-12, higher education, colleges, universities, state colleges, private colleges. We also do well in a acronym that we make up in an industry that loves making up acronyms. It's MWL, and that stands for Manufacturing, Warehouse, and Logistics. Mm-hmm. Now, because we make a networking product, our access points are really sort of the bread and butter.
Yes.
So in those manufacturing and warehouse logistics, those are Wi-Fi environment nightmares because the environment is harsh. It has everything that a Wi-Fi signal hates. Okay. Think very high metal ceilings, warehouse racks, which are made of metal. But then think of the inventory that goes in those racks. If you are maybe one day that rack aisle number one is terracotta planters. Well, that's concrete. Then in 2 weeks, maybe it's like plant fertilizer. Okay. So now that's dirt. Maybe in 2 to 3 weeks from that, it could be a bunch of water jugs, right? So the environment or the inventory is constantly changing, and it's never Wi-Fi friendly. So because of our built-in Wi-Fi technology when it comes to antennas, instead of Wi-Fi having a sort of circular catch me if you can type approach, we direct that signal per person or person's device that's acting for the Wi-Fi. And why we stick out in those K-12s and higher ed spots is because those access points can deliver a better signal, which gives us as user like a better connection or experience as we use. The antennas allow us to kind of do the more with less saying. You don't need as many instead of this big circle on circle because it's a little bit more directed. You truly can do more with less.
That's really important. And I know I've been to some locations before. We travel all around with DigiMarcon, and some of these locations have absolutely terrible Wi-Fi because they're battling all those things, like maybe just the age of the materials used in the building or whatever it is. And then other locations is absolutely fabulous. So I can tell which locations actually invested, and it makes a big difference on the customer experience side, especially when you're running a conference with lots of people and you need to have a clean signal going and not have video dropouts during your call and all that stuff.
Yeah. So like customer experience is a tagline that we talk about a lot, but it's really true. So no matter who your customer is, and let's just talk about this hotel, but kind of two flavors like you talked about. As a vendor or an attendee, if the Wi-Fi stinks, that's one of the things that you usually go back and tell your coworkers, right? Hey, the Wi-Fi didn't work. I wasn't able to check email, or, whatever it was. But then think of the other side of this building, which is actually the hotel part. That's actually one thing that can deter somebody who's maybe looking for a Google review or a Yelp review. If one of those first sentences is the Wi-Fi was not great and I couldn't watch my Netflix, I may not go there.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That could remove business.
Yeah.
So it's truly about customer experience. Now, what that experience is different from company to company or industry to industry. So whether it's I flat out want the internet or you need an application. So that's another
Oh,
big
yeah.
thing too. So work for me is very driven by two major applications, salesforce.com and Outlook.
Mhm.
If I can't get to my mail
Mhm.
or I can't look at deals, I should just call in for the day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like, how are you going to get anything done?
Yep.
Well, something else you guys do that's really cool that we talked about is you're able to sort of set even like rolling time petitions within the network.
Yeah.
So if it's at a school, you could basically allow, okay, you want kids to be able to use a game or access the, that part of the network for certain hours, but then block it.
Yes.
Can you go into more detail about that and some case uses maybe?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So, in now today's day and age, security is something that we talk about and we need to. Yeah. Security is defined in a lot of ways. So not only when you talk about K-12 in that example, yeah, you can green light or red light particular applications, and then not only just particular applications, but maybe even for a particular time. Mm-hmm. K-12 is a really good story. K-12 directors of IT do not want their students on their iPhones playing games when they should be in the classroom learning. Mm-hmm. But what about those instances where it's maybe lunchtime and there's a little bit more freedom?
Yeah.
We do have the ability to allow maybe applications that are no from 8 to noon, but from noon to 1. All right, hey, let's let those kids play Candy Crush, or let those kids go on YouTube for an extended period of time. Mm-hmm. But when the academic day starts again, that application can then be removed and you don't get connectivity to it.
Right.
So we have the ability to set good and bad lists, but we also have abilities to set profiles. So if we use a hotel as an example, and I'm a hotel guest, the hotel would not want me to get on to their HR server and look at, particular details.
Yeah.
Or they wouldn't want me on the same network as their POS system where they're transacting and getting credit card information. So Ruckus is able to separate a lot of those environments for a safe experience. And then the data that goes across those networks, it's never personal. It's encrypted information. So hackers can try, but hackers would not be able to break the encryption.
And that's a fun name too, Ruckus. Can we go into a little bit about that? Sure. Where the name came from, the backstory? It's a really fun story, you guys. I think you'll like this. Yeah.
So the backstory is ultimately probably one that's very familiar that you and I would do. You'd come up with an idea. You want to name the company. Well, who do you name it after? You name it after your dog. So the story is, and we've got some friends here. Mm-hmm. We've got the big guy and the little guy. So our company is Ruckus Networks. We like to say we bring the ruckus and cause a ruckus by disrupting out there in a good way. Mm-hmm. But the story around the dog, the owner of this company many years ago, 20, 30 years ago, started the company and decided to name the company Ruckus after his black lab.
Beloved.
His black lab. And it actually has just stuck, and it's become actually like a trade show favorite. Mm-hmm. People seek out the dog, and we hear stories all the time. I met your coworker 2 years ago, and my dog, my nephew loves the dog. Mm-hmm. My grandchild loves the dog. Or my dog loves the dog, and it's become one of their canines' best friends.
Oh, that's a really sweet story. Yeah, I was watching lots of people come over to the booth and, oh, the dog, it's so cute. And it's like, it's a magnet, and it's interesting because now you've got a story. As a filmmaker and a producer, I think that storytelling is really important. If someone wants to get a product from you, you can't just tell them, well, this is why you need it. They need a story. And something relatable. So I don't know, it's just a fun little, I like it when companies have something like that, behind it. It's not, it's just your everyday company. It's like, there's a whole story about how this company came to be and why they do the things they do. And that makes it very personal, something like that. So, yeah.
And the story's got some legs to it now, too. Yeah. So,
pun intended, yeah.
we absolutely take the dog and kind of multiply it out. A dog is loyal. We as a company are loyal when it comes to our, customer base, and we're also a channel friendly organization, so we sell through partners and resellers. So we always say when we go into a deal with somebody, we win with that person. So we're loyal when it comes to that.
That's great.
Yep.
That is some fantastic imagery there. So on that note, I'd actually like to talk a little bit about your background as well, and to make it personal, maybe something fun about you that people don't know, or something that you do like in your spare time
Sure.
and apart from work.
Yep.
And then we'll get a little into about your background, doing communications and stuff. I have your IMDb, your LinkedIn page pulled up here, and I see that you have a lot of different hats that you've worn
Mhm.
over the years. And um, let's see. So you've worked with quite a few different organizations. Seems a lot of it's sales related. So you seem to be very much the sales guy. But,
And
yeah.
the joke we had while we were looking at my LinkedIn is, as you can tell by my sales background, that I'm clearly using my graphic design communications degree.
Mhm.
So yes, I went to Fitchburg State College, local state school here, and then I did try my hat as a graphic designer,
Mhm.
and I was logo designing and
Mhm.
cutting vinyl graphics for work trucks. That was fun. I just needed a little bit more.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
We just needed a
100%.
little bit more.
Yeah.
So yes, I did find myself into sales, and to look back at my resume and my roadmap,
Yeah.
I kind of can't believe that that's me.
Right.
I started cold calling for a company that was like a third party company.
Mhm.
Then a manufacturer hiring me, and I was cold calling for their sales team, being the would you mind if
Yeah.
my local sales team came in and gave you the pitch.
Yeah.
To fast forward, I'm the guy now coming in to give the pitch.
Yeah.
Okay.
You are that guy now. Yeah.
And
Do you call yourself in? Do you ever call yourself in? Yes, I will send myself over there.
I also wear a lot of hats here. So yes, I do.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, the sort of background there is I've worked for a lot of data networking companies.
Mm-hmm.
And why is, hey, I do love the technology, but I believe that what keeps me going and why I keep in this sort of this industry is I like problem solving, and then I like being a part of the solution as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, we sell items, but they're not point products. They're solving something. So mm-hmm. in the K-12 solutions, we're helping young kids get a great education and make sure mm-hmm. when their state testing is around, that they succeed, and they succeed well. Mm-hmm. I've got some nieces in the local school district that's next to me, and I do feel proud when, I hear them say, "Oh, hey, my iPad worked today in school." And I say, it better.
Yeah.
So I like being a part of finding problems and then helping find some of the solutions to those problems.
I wish every business had that mentality. That's mm-hmm. fantastic. That's the way to be. So what about in the more recent years? Talk about some of your hobbies and some of the fun stuff you do outside of work. Yeah.
So outside of work, and I swear there's some trades that I have been able to cross over my world. So mm-hmm. out there in TV world, as a part-time job and sometimes as a fun job, I am a basketball referee. So for the past 17 years, I've refereed basketball, all levels from, very young, third grade, fourth grade is sort of when it becomes organized, all the way up to high school. High school level is sort of that fun, competitive, you need to physically and mentally be on your game, or you're going to get an earful. Okay. So mm-hmm. I do that on weekdays and then mostly weekends, but I do swear there's some skills that have crossed over. Mm-hmm. So in that high school gym situation on a Friday night with this, really intense rivalry game where fans are really one-sided and coaches want absolutely every call to go their way. Well, when it doesn't, they usually share their opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
So you have to learn to stay calm and cool, even if it's on the surface. But underneath, you can have all those feelings. But what you have to portray is calm and confident. Mm-hmm. I can feel in an environment like a trade show or like our friends speaking up here on stage, some of those traits have been able to cross over where I can give a speech and I may look calm, but underneath the water, that duck under the water, the feet are moving 1,000 miles a minute.
Yeah. And that's, I relate to that a lot doing conference management. There's always behind the scene things going on, moving parts around. There's always something, but the audience doesn't need to know all that stuff.
Agreed.
Right? Yeah. Well, on that note, you've been an absolutely great partner here in our podcast. If someone wants to find you, where would be the best place to look you up?
Yeah. Hey, find me on LinkedIn. So it's Keith Byette, Keith Byette. And then through a communication there, happy to give you my work information and continue a chat and see if we can solve some problems.
Very good. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. And we will be back later with some other